Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, classic slash non-classic. This is episode number 585 and Doubleshot number 479. Just a shirt. Alright. I have a Star Wars show, which I did say I was going to do in the last episode. And this will be the first of two featuring stuff related to the Suicide Squad. Yeah, I got 3 traits for this one. Let's first talk about the Star Wars one, and that is Star Wars The Force Awakens. This is the adaptation of the film that came out almost 3 years ago. Actually, at this point, it would have been like 2.5 years ago. Yeah. The series is written by Chuck Wendig. This is actually his second comic book I can think of he's actually written. The only other comic I've actually seen this guy has written was actually the short-lived Hyperion series. Hyperion is Marvel's analog to Superman. He's got some power set, except he's not an alien, he's actually a human. Though this one was a version created by Jonathan Hickman. I don't know why his series was canceled for. It was actually a really good series. Got a good premise. I found it to be interesting. And yet the book got axed after 6 issues. Though the most common reason is low sales. That along with the awesome Nighthawk series by David Walker. 2 characters from the Squadron Supreme series. Though that version, that was not created by John Hickman. That Nighthawk was created by J. Michael Straczynski. Yep. But this, now in the case of this, does this one alter anything from the film? Make any changes? No. No major change, just flows very similar to how the comic flows. Though they do cut out the conversation that Poe and the guy who actually is seen very briefly in here, Lost Tanaga, I think his name is, the guy who has the info, who actually gave Poe the map to find Luke Skywalker. And he's frequently mentioned here. Mostly put, it flows like the way it does the film. I think the only change they make is that they do make they have a brief flashback to the original trilogy. Aside from that, that's really it. But it's written really well. Though it does cut out a lot of stuff that's seen from the film. But that's what you get for an adaptation. But big changes wise? No, none really. The artwork is done by, I think it's done by a few different artists here. Yeah, it's done by at least 2 artists. Luke Ross, who does the first 2 issues, and issues 4 through 6. Issue 3 is done by Mark Leeming. Yeah. That's simply put when it comes to this one. Now, this book is not necessarily canon because, even though it kind of is because it adapts a film, but it doesn't make any changes, so you can't exactly say, yeah, this is canon or not. Though, I have heard for the whole Dameron series that finally, I think starting after they finish the current story, they're finally going to have, after issue 25, they're going to finally explain what the heck Poe Dameron was up to during the events of this film. That's explained soon. It's just okay. I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. It's got good artwork, though. That's one high praise about it. Next up is a book that I'm not surprised to make one book of this one. Of course, it's Suicide Squad. But this is Suicide Squad, The Silver Age. Yeah, and what's in here? Brave and the Bold, 25-27, 37-39 of the series. And Star Spangled War Stories, issues 110, 111, 116, and 121. 125 and 127 to 128. I should point out that the Brave Bulls issues, the first 3 in here, they're actually 3 issues that just come before the debut of the Justice League of America. Yep. And the stories in here are written by Robert Kniger and Howard Leese, with artwork by Russ Ardrew, the late great Gene Colan, and the awesome Joe Kubert. The covers are by Michael Cho. Joe Kubert. Those of you like, who is Joe Kubert? Well, he's the father of the artist brothers duo, Andy and Adam Kubert. Yeah, he's their father. So those 2, along with Jeremy Jr., are second generation artists. Not many of them per se. Yeah, I haven't heard any other ones I can think of which are second generation. I've heard that artists tend to be married to each other, or writers, but never second generation artists. Not many of them per se. There's only 3 I can think of, like I said, the Kiwi brothers and Jeremy Jr. The Brave and the Bold issues is just basically, well, there's actually a couple people who appear in this version of Suicide Squad, do appear in the modern one. You're thinking, Suicide Squad. Is this the criminal? Is this the group put together by Amanda Waller to go on suicide missions? No. This is the original version that Robert Kanigher created back in the 1960s. Actually, I think it was the 50s. Let's see here. The first issue came out in... Yeah, it was in 1959. August to September of 1959. Yeah, that's because at that point, Brave and Bold was coming out twice, every couple months. Yeah. Now, mostly you can say that this Suicide Squad fights monsters. Yeah, they fight monsters. They go to space. It's just weird stuff, but it's good sci-fi stuff. So you kind of say this is a sci-fi series because they fight like dinosaurs. They fight a giant gorilla at one point. I think they fight an alien at one point, but yeah. Now there are two people who do appear in this version of Suicide Squad that do appear in the current version that the awesome John Usher created back in 1987, and that's Rick Flag, who does become the leader of the Suicide Squad for about 2 years, leaves and comes back briefly, though he's leader of it currently, and Karen Grace. Yeah, she's the blonde woman on the cover, and she's also, believe it or not, the mother of Rick Flag's only child. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that when I talk about the next volume. Now, something weird happened with this particular thing. Now, if you read this, okay, you have the same roster for the Rainbow issues, and then for some strange reason, I don't know why DC did this for, when they moved the stories over for Suicide Squad over to Star Spangled War stories, this was the War That Time Forgot feature. Yeah, and their feature, now I should point out though, the feature for War That Time Forgot, that took up a good chunk of issues for, well, Star Spangled War story. We started with issue 90 and ended with issue 137, though 91, 93, and 126 didn't have a feature in it. But Suicide Squad took up the most amount of this thing. Though, from when I look at a little research on it, it basically did set up some stuff like the G.I. Robot stories that are in weird war stories. Yeah. So, great stuff for... If you're a fan of the Silver Age stuff, I do recommend this. Now, unlike the modern Suicide Squad, which is much more violent than these guys are, this is just pure fun. I enjoy this. I'm going to give this a 10 out of 10. It's classic stuff. And I have nothing against this. This is actually pretty fun. Though it's weird, though, that Rick Flag is not in the Star Spangled War Stories feature for the Suicide Squad stories for Star Spangled War Stories. Yeah, neither him or Karen Grace. The other two guys who appear part of this group, yeah, they actually don't show up modern day. From what I've heard about these guys, it was later revealed in a retcon these guys were killed off in one of their missions, one of their last missions they did. So, you can kind of say that this is the first Suicide Squad, well, publication-wise anyways. Despite the fact that Josh Williamson did retcon with the whole, well, first version of Amanda Waller's Suicide Squad, but this is the original Suicide Squad. That's simply the way it is. And yes, they do fight a T-Rex a couple times throughout this whole thing. And unlike if you know Rick Flag in the modern Suicide Squad series, where he wears like a yellow T-shirt, has like a gun holster and regular pants, here the whole time you see him, he's wearing his military uniform. Yeah, the entire time. He's never seen wearing anything else. Like what you see Karen Grace is wearing right now, that's kind of what Rick Flag is wearing now, except instead of wearing a black turtleneck shirt, he's wearing a yellow T-shirt. But it's the same outfit, and it's just great stories to read. If you're interested in earlier Suicide Squad stuff, this is where you can go to. Now, when it comes with the Showcase Presents stuff, I'm a little surprised never did this for Showcase Presents. Probably because there's not much stories here. There's like, I counted, there's like 16 stories in here. But yeah, they did a showcase book for Batlash, and he had even less appearances than the Suicide Squad. But this book is just great. As for having one volume, it's understandable because that's all there is for Suicide Squad, the original version. Otherwise, though, after that, there'll be a Suicide Squad for like 20 years. Let me look it up in here. I think the last story came back in the 60s. Okay, yeah. Yeah, let's see. Okay. The Star Spangled of War story stuff, that came a little over 2 years after they ended their last 3-part feature for Brave and the Bold. And this went on up until 1966. So it took 21 years to bring back the idea of Suicide Squad. Instead of having be a military group, it's a group made up of criminals. Yeah, that's awesome what it is. So, the subject, yes, you can definitely say Oswald created the Suicide Squad, but he created the modern Suicide Squad. This is the original version. I've got to point that out, though. Okay? But if you're a fan of monster stuff for DC, I do recommend checking this out. It's just really good. Alright? So, that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode, which is episode number... I think it's... if I can find it here. Here we go. Next episode will be episode 586 and Doubleshot number 480. Yeah. That's what's going to be in the next episode. Okay? But until I see you there, bye.